Thank you.
Councillor Dalton.
Thank you. I just want to explain why I'm voting against this. It's a compromise. Another compromise. We're asking Māori to compromise again. It's not good enough. This is kicking the can down the road. I won't go back about the dates and the working party that I was on with Councillor Henderson and Councillor Filipaina in the IMSB. This is years. This is like years and years and years of work. And even when I was on a local board, working really hard to develop those relationships with mana whenua mātawaka and get voices to the table. This is a cop-out. This is shameful. And hiding behind something like we need to do more work, for God's sake. So I'll be voting against it. Thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor Hills. I won't rule out the chance of probably swaying you, but you never know.
Kia ora, Mayor. The issues around this and the discussion around what point we wait till everyone's on board, I think is a difficult discussion when we're talking about minority groups or groups that don't have the majority to begin with. Speaking as someone who has had rights for myself improve over time. 2 days after I was born, homosexual law reform was passed, so I was only living illegally for 2 days. But you know, over my lifetime, you know, there were things we fought for, and understanding myself meant that if the laws didn't accept me or didn't have a place for me, I didn't quite understand how I fit. And I know that over time, thankfully, the majority of Parliament saw the purpose of changing laws for people like me. In Switzerland, they had referendums for many, many a year to give women the vote, but of course only men could vote, and so women didn't get the vote till 1971. So I don't think anyone accepts that that was okay because the majority kept supporting men only voting until 50 years ago. So this is another issue where we kind of are hoping for a magical outcome. There were only 2 members around this table who didn't say they supported Māori seats. So there was an overwhelming majority that said they supported Māori seats. The issue is that they won't and haven't shown that with their vote. And the issue is there will be, when we get the hate mail, I assume, for those of us who put our names down in favour of Māori seats, I'm sure those who said they support Māori seats won't get the hate mail, even though they do say they support them. So it is a bit confusing what happens next, where we go to next, and when we continue to try and get a magical outcome for a minority that is a treaty partner. So I don't know how to vote for this. I feel like I want to vote for it because it does seem like moving forward, but we've done it several times already and we just kind of send to the next vote where everyone says, oh, I support this, but look, I can't vote for it. And I think that is a disappointment, and I think we need to understand once again that this shouldn't be feared. This is one of our seats around this table allowing Aucklanders to vote differently if they choose to on a different ward than they are now. It doesn't take away anything. And so this will send us around and around in circles again, and I'm sad about that. I guess that's mostly what I have to say, but I do want to point out for those listening that only 2 people around this table didn't support Māori seats in their words. So I hope that that's considered when we get the hate mail.
Thank you very much for that, Councillor Newman. It's just possible I'll be able to speak before you'll die of hunger. But
I think the point was made in the last debate. I think it was an interesting debate. I'll declare my own position again. I don't support the Royal Commission model. Actually, there isn't a consensus of support for the parliamentary model. There isn't a consensus of support from Māori for the parliamentary model. It just isn't. Point to it, you won't find it. Here's some numbers. 65 days ago, the omnibus bill, which allowed for the consideration of the Māori ward option under the parliamentary model now, without the use of referenda, was passed 65 days ago. 17 days later, the parliament was dissolved and a general election took place, and we have a consequence of that. That's what we face. I'm sorry if people can't accept that elections have consequences, but here's the thing, Your Worship, the Local Electoral Act is not constitutional, it is not entrenched. It will be subject to change. I don't want to spend the best part of the next 12 months at the Joint Governance Working Party debating this. I simply want to get advice as to what the government intends to do in relation to that act, and for that matter to be reported back. It needs to be reported here so this matter can be recommitted, because if we are going to have, as I expect, changes to that act, then that is very, very germane to this consideration, and then we can resolve our response to that. I will not be going at variance with what Parliament sets down. People like to think that they can, but you're a creature of statute and local government. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. And if there's no further questions, I'll attempt to sum up so we can put this. This is a complicated constitutional issue. I note, and it was quite clear that there wasn't an absolutely clear consensus view coming from either iwi, Maori or the broader public. The model available to us is exactly the same as for small councils. I won't pick on Horowhenua Gore again, but we've got 19 different iwi plus Matawaka plus an IMSB. I think we made a mistake not including the IMSB more fully in the consultation, because it is a form of representation, and I think that was probably, and that himself is a compromise. That was a compromise. Everything was about this council was a compromise, and it was not great compromise. Thank you, Mr. Rodney Hyde. I don't want us to go off looking at one thing like seats in isolation, particularly when there's been a change of government with parties who campaigned against this issue. All the options should be on the table rather than just looking at this one model at a time when we're looking at a lot of things around representation. I don't accept that we've missed this opportunity. I don't accept necessarily that it's going to not happen until December 2024. It's almost certain that this will be one of many things that I'll be sitting down with the government and talking about problems with the way this council was set up that should have been dealt with years before I put my hand up to become the mayor. I want this to be considered by the Joint Government's Working Party, who are also looking at other things proposed by the Royal Commission on Auckland Governance, and I want them to take a wider view than perhaps the narrow view that Councillor Ferry has concentrated on so far, and that's not a criticism. I think you're doing a great job. I note that in the legislation that would have gone onto this, we don't know whether we would have approved 0, 1 or 2 seats, because we could easily have just reduced the number of councillors to 7 and had no, even if we'd approved Maori seats. So I want to have a look at this. And when I'm putting forward what we did, it is a compromise to get us out of a situation which is nearly 50% for, 50% against, which is not a good thing to do important things on anyhow. I certainly wouldn't have wanted to have been in a position of having to do a casting vote on something which was so confused across the public. So I think it's very worthwhile to support the alternative thing that we've come up with, and we came up with that with the best of intentions, not as a way to avoid what we've done. And I think that today's use of the standard rules has, and I commend Councillor Filipaina for his deep knowledge of the rules. I'll be quizzing him on his deep knowledge of the some of the planning things we're coming up shortly. But so I would like you to support this as a way forward. I don't think in saying when it says by 31st of December 2024, I'd hope we can come back a bit earlier, particularly once it's clearer from the government exactly where they're going on these issues. And so I don't hold that as the last date. That's a date that I expect Councillor Ferry to beat hands down. And it will definitely become clearer once the government is in place and lets us know quite where some guidance. And so I'll leave it there, but I hope that's answered some of the questions that some of the people have raised. I do this without malice, and I do this in the hope that we can come to some consensus about this and give this a good support, and all get stuck in and see if we can extract the thorns from this product, from this problem rather. So I'm going to ask that we put
Mr.
this-
Mayor, just a point of clarification from you. I need you and if you could answer this point of clarification. I heard you and Councillor Newman point out that Māori are not sort of supportive, when in fact I had mentioned those that came in on the 2nd of December, and they were supportive of the parliamentary model if the Royal Commission model couldn't be done. That's my point of clarification. Please go back and have a look at them. There were, like I said previously, Te Whānau Waiparera, Huakina Development, Manurewa Marae, Rua Pōtaka Marae, Te Puna Hauora, Te Hā Oranga, Te Akatai Waiuhua, Hoane Waititi. That's my point of clarification, Mayor. They all supported the parliamentary model if we couldn't get, so those numbers are massive. I just want to point it out, especially now for those that are listening, that there were Māori, so I just
I
wanted
didn't
to
say
let
that
you
it
know.
wasn't supported. I said
Okay,
it wasn't
thank
unanimously
you.
supported. There was mixed support, but there was very strong support in certain sectors for certain parts of it. But we still need to
Thank you, Mayor.
put in, consider the position of the IMSB in the midst of all that as well. I think it was a mistake not to do that. Nevertheless, it wasn't my decision. This, however, is your decision. Is there anyone who particularly wants this to be by one of your favourite divisions? Okay, I thought that might happen. I'm going to pass it to Sandra now, who will go through a division. At the end of this, we'll know one way or another. Then I'm going to have a break, because there's a number of people who'd like to have something to eat or perhaps visit the plumbing. Sandra, please conduct the division.
Councillor Baker.
Aye.
Councillor Bartley.
Against.
Councillor Dalton.
Against.
Councillor Darby.
For.
Councillor Ferry.
Against.
Councillor Filipaina.
Kaore.
No. Councillor Fletcher.
Yes.
Councillor Foley.
Against.
Councillor Henderson.
No.
Councillor Hills.
No.
Councillor Lee.
Aye.
Councillor Leone.
Against.
Councillor Newman.
Yes.
Councillor Sayers.
Or.
Deputy Mayor Simpson. Councillor Stewart. Councillor Turner.
Or.
Councillor Walker.
Yes.
Councillor Watson.
Yes.
Councillor Williamson.
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
It's carried 13-8.
Okay, those that voted against it, I hope you don't feel that you're so against it, you're not going to help work with the joint government's working party. because it's work
Can
to
I
be done.
clarify as chair, absolutely committed to seeing this work through the joint governance working party?
You
So
are.
I was, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for that. I'm
We will do
committed
it.
to helping you.
Yes, I'm very keen that we get some IMSB representation on that working party, but we can talk about that
Yeah.
later. Thank you.
I'm quite happy with that too. All right, thank you very much. I'm going to adjourn this for until 2:30. We've got a hell of a lot to do, so I hope you've packed a sleeping bag.